Good evening, Chief Meteorologist Candace King with you in the First Warn Weather Center. Just wrapped up with the 5 o'clock newscast and wanted to give you an update on the weather we're expecting for Monday for those who maybe weren't able to join us, and also to get a little bit more in detail on what we're expecting because it is going to get pretty messy here as we look towards Monday afternoon. First, winter storm warning will go into effect 6 o'clock Monday morning for all of northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. And it's important to note that here, this isn't for the snowfall accumulation rather than the impacts and the effects that the freezing rain and sleet will have along with those really strong east and northeasterly winds. The storm system in question is getting its act together in Texas. It has brought down enough cold air to bring snow all the way down to Texas and some even blizzard-like conditions down in that direction. Severe weather in East Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, flooding rain in Missouri, and all this moisture is going to be pulled northward. That's another problem too, because it's warm and moist air meeting cool and drier air, not really cold air, but enough to get our temperature right near the freezing mark or a little below, and this is where the issues will come to play. So we talked about that freezing rain potential. That best chance for that looks across northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Areas that are going to be in the cold for the longest are going to have the higher snowfall accumulation, so into central northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and even a little bit further back off to the west. South, where temperatures will stay above the freezing mark, have a better chance to get more rain than more wintry weather. But let's kind of plan this out with futurecasts. So we're dry through tonight, very early tomorrow morning. This is 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is going to be lifting from south to north. So everything is going to be transitioning from south to north through the day tomorrow as that low basically bisects northwestern Illinois and eastern Iowa. Initially, what we're going to experience is a mixture of a little freezing rain. I think it'll probably be more of kind of a sleet snow mixture early on because the warm air above really doesn't get going until later in the day on Monday, and that's where the freezing rain potential comes in. So this is 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Notice how this really expands northward as we go through the morning hours. So stopped it again at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is when we could start to see that transition over to more sleet. Now, sleet are ice pellets, essentially the warm layer above the surface of the earth. So we're talking a few thousand feet above the surface of the earth, is not as deep. So you get kind of this shallower warm layer above where you get a partial melting of the frozen liquid that comes out of the clouds. Whereas freezing rain, you get a warm layer, a deeper warm layer above, but your surface temperature is, at 32 degrees or a little below. And so when this liquid falls, it freezes on contact with the surfaces. That's going to be the difference between sleet and freezing rain. Now with sleet, you get a little more traction, still slick, but not as dangerous as freezing rain. So worst case scenario we go through here is we get a very long duration of freezing rain, which would cause ice accumulations to add up to over 1/4 of an inch. At most, could be half an inch ice accumulation. That's worst case scenario. Big question for us is going to be, where is that transition in the temperature going to take place? If we get more sleet, it cuts down on the freezing rain potential. If you get less sleet, more freezing rain, then you get bigger issues. But notice still at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, so even as we go into the afternoon, we're still holding on to that freezing rain sleet mix. It's not going to be until we get after dark where we get our temperature that's going to go above the 32-degree mark, so above the freezing mark, from south to north. So that will bring that transition from that wintry mix to more rain, and that may even last into Monday night. But notice how on the back side of that, we get a little more rain-snow mix across southern Wisconsin and northwestern Illinois before the system completely passes and moves out of here as we look towards Tuesday. So it could be a few lingering flurries, light snow showers on Tuesday morning with the temperature below freezing, but by the afternoon we should be seeing this end. So kind of timing this out, the weather risk is going to stay high all through the day tomorrow because this is going to be a high impact storm event. So early in the morning, we get more of that wintry mix. Mid to late morning, that transition over to freezing rain, and that will last into the afternoon. before then we get that transition over to a little more rain mixing in after sunset tomorrow from south to north. It's important to know that a change of a degree or two in temperature at the surface or even up above means a huge difference in what type of precipitation we see. This is why, let's say, a few miles down the road, temperature there could be at 31 degrees. You've got more freezing rain, but a few miles away from there, you get a temperature that's at 33. You get a little rain, maybe more sleet mixing in. That's where those differences come to play. And unfortunately, even though this event is 12 hours out, it's still really, really key and still kind of hard to focus in on exactly what those surface temperatures are going to be. Next big issue, which is probably going to be the biggest thing out of everything, are the winds. We have a high confidence in our wind gusts tomorrow. That'll be upwards of 45 miles per hour. It'll be windy in the morning. Strong winds will come in once we get into the afternoon and early evening. Even if we get 1/10 of an inch of ice to accumulate, because the accumulation that we're going to see with the freezing rain, if we get this for a long duration, is going to be on trees and power lines and elevated surfaces. It's hard to forecast what road temperatures are going to be. Driving on them, you get a little more friction, but roads are going to be messy, and I know that street crews are going to be out tomorrow morning because they want to get ahead of this system. In fact, our reporter Emily Waldron talked with Tim Hansen, and he's got people on call. They're going to be out at 3 o'clock Monday morning, so they're going to try to stay ahead of this. But our big concern is going to be with the wind. Even if we get 1/10 of an inch of ice accumulation, when you combine that with a 45 mile per hour wind, it's going to cause some big issues. Now, worst case scenario, which I really hope doesn't pan out, worst case scenario is going to be we get over 1/4 of an inch to a few 1/10 of an inch of ice that accumulates on tree branches, power lines. That weighs everything down. Remember, this ice accumulating is added weight. You combine that with 45 mile per hour wind gust in the afternoon, and, power outages, down branches and things like that are going to be of a bigger issue if we get a longer duration of freezing rain. So that's really important to keep in mind as we go through tomorrow. And like I said before, longer duration of sleet, less freezing rain. Longer duration of freezing rain, higher ice accumulation totals will be, and some of those totals could add up to over 1/4 of an inch. So we're really watching the system through the night tonight and through the day tomorrow. Meteorologist Kristen Swiner will be in tomorrow morning with all the updates on what you need to know, and if there's been any shift in the storm track, we may be able to wrap in a little more warm air. That would be a plus for us if we could get that warm air at the surface, because maybe that would mean that transition over to rain would be a little sooner in the afternoon and kind of mitigate, a lot of this freezing rain potential. But either way, it is going to be very messy. So it's important for you to stay, up to date with the forecast. If you've got any last minute errands to run, maybe want to do them now, kind of hold off on any traveling or anything you have to do for your Monday. If you don't have to go out, don't. Just kind of make sure you have, flashlights and things like that. Your phones are charged just in case there are widespread power outages and we do lose power for a period of time. I will have much more updated on our weather blog later on tonight and on the newscast at 9 and 10. So we will see you then.